This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
My name is Lily, and I've had hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, for years. I finally found some relief since taking Cosentyx. Relief means I can show up more.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some are fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Of The Reality Is. As always, it's Noor, and as promised, I brought Chelsea back to talk about the Valley and Summer House. Now, you, Chelsea, did text me a long time ago and said, hey, let me on. Put me in, coach.
I was standing outside of your house looking in the windows saying, please let me talk to you about this because everyone in my house is sick of hearing about it.
You were Dorit in full glam leaning against a window.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I really felt like a kid on Christmas this morning. I was so giddy all week. Like I had butterflies in my stomach. I was so excited to talk to you about these fucking stupid ass men.
It's so good. Like and also Jesse's, huh?
Jesse's. You know, I was going to make a shirt that said like, I hate Jesse with then like what is this?
Parentheses.
My brain's not working. Parentheses. Thank you. I was going to be parentheses and then just an S so that it's plural because I do hate all Jessies.
Yeah. And like male Jessies are especially so bad.
Yeah. Well, I heard a theory on Threads, I believe. So
Okay.
I read it, I guess, not heard it, but that J names, if it's a man with a J name, they are like 90% more likely to be a douchebag. And then I started thinking back in my own history and the J names that I know, and I haven't proved it wrong yet.
Okay. I mean, it's possible. When you said J names, I thought of John Jansen, Shannon Bedores.
Well, naturally.
And I was like,
John
that's
Jansen,
double J.
my favorite name on Bravo. John Jansen. We've also got James Kennedy, Jax Taylor.
Yeah. Jax/Jason.
2 J's, double J's. He doubled down.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to think about it more and go down the list because the other alternative is Toms. We have a series of bad Toms.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
It sounds like names, like a name like Tom or a J male name. It just seems like it actually confirms that it's not. I think it's more that it's just men are bad. I think that's really what it is.
It's like I read a really interesting theory that if a man has a name, they are evil.
This just in, men with names are dog shit.
Bad people. it turns out.
It's like, you know, those articles that come up, it's like insane articles. It's like science proves that women who lay in bed all day live a lot longer lives or whatever. Like, I love those articles.
It's like science proves that when a woman isn't stressed out all the time, they actually are a little bit happier.
Yeah, exactly. It's like science proves that men with names are terrible. If you're a man with a name, you're gonna fuck something up, and I hate you already.
If it's a reductress article, it would be, I lived it. Men with names, bad.
Exactly. I survived being linked with a man
Who had a name.
who had a name. Ah, God. Even like shitty, like, you know, like it's funny you said J names because it's like, you know, with sex work, men who solicit sex work are called Johns.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. All
Mm.
right.
But the thing about the Jessies, if I
Yeah.
can just
No,
right
no,
off the bat,
please.
the thing about the Jessies is I really do feel like I am a boots on the ground historian. I am conducting anthropological research,
Yeah.
the study of the audacity of man,
Yeah.
you know? And the Jessies really do a great job of highlighting two very different types of
Yes.
douchebags.
Yes.
Because on one hand, Jesse Solomon is like, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but Jesse Solomon is like a man who's pretending to be the golden retriever boyfriend who is actually Kim Richards' dog, Kingsley.
Yeah.
Like, he will bite your face off with that toothy grin and then be like, oops,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I was just trying to make you laugh.
You're just mad about Sierra. Like, that's not what she's saying, Jesse.
We never said it.
And then the other Jesse, I mean,
Sinister.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
Diabolical. I feel, to use a phrase that these men have learned and now are using against women, I feel gaslit every time I turn on my social media and people are saying anything positive about this man. Because to me, it is so clear that he is so diabolical behind the scenes. And so everything that Michelle does is like reactive abuse, where
Yes.
I imagine that for her, the reason she's losing her goddamn mind whenever cameras go up is it's very clear to me that like the persona he presents on camera is completely different than the person she has to deal with behind the scenes. Like he feels like sinister Jax Taylor level, but almost scarier because he's better at hiding it.
He's smarter than Jax. That's
Right.
the part that's scary, is that he is actually potentially an intelligent person or knows really well how to be an intelligent person. Like the Tom Schwartzes, the Tom Sandovals, and the Jax Taylors of the world, where we watch them and they're like, these are the dumbest fucks I've ever seen in my life. Jesse pretends to be educated and worldly, and he uses that as like a proof of like, no, I can't be a bad person. I'm so worldly and I'm so educated. And you're like, that actually doesn't prove anything. Again, you are a man with a name.
You are a man with a name, sir, whether you know what Monet is or not. No, and I think that also he uses that as like the way to side sweep an argument is like if you are saying, I feel this way, or hey, it made me feel this way when you did this, then he uses like faux intellect to talk down to you and be like, well, let me explain why your feelings are poor and wrong and uncultured.
Yeah, I want to look up how old Jessie Lally is, because a thing that I learned on the after show, which is the after show is now you
after
hadn't
show is
watched it. I
crazy.
told you got to binge the after show, and you binged it, and you said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa."
I know that their catchphrase is like, you're only getting half the story if you don't watch the after show. It's
No.
true. I wish that they, and we talk, I feel like every time I come on, I have a new pitch for how if you're on Bravo, you need to get off of social media.
Yeah.
But like, okay, fine. They're not going to bring back the blogs. I will put that to bed. I have been campaigning for that for years.
Sure.
But I think let them film the after show in real time. Even make it live. Make it a watch what happens live situation where that is their chance to comment on what people are saying on social media, to comment on what they saw in the show. Like, make it available on Bravo, because it's wild that it's only available on like YouTube and Peacock.
Yeah.
And make it more widespread, because I think also that impacts the narrative of fans of the show. It's like, if you're not watching the after show, you don't really see how diabolical it really goes.
Exactly. And I think there's another thing that I recently discovered is that there is this website. There's a domain called cafex.com. And every time I go on Facebook, which is usually to like sell something or buy something on Marketplace, but
Uh-huh.
it'll pop up and it's always like attached to some sort of like Housewives or like Bravo page. And it has thousands of comments under it. And it's like a picture of like a popular thing that's going on. And it will say Lexi and Jesse, right?
Okay.
And then it'll have this huge paragraph of like Lexi Woods, goes into Sierra whatever. And like, it's this huge thing of like, she said all these things, right? Click for the full story. And then you go and you look at the link, and the link takes you to a page that doesn't confirm any of this information. It's truly it's crazy because I've seen stuff
It's
about like,
Facebook.
yeah, it is Facebook. So it's like, of course it's going to happen. I've seen it with like Dolores and Polly had a fight in public because he owes her money. Like I've seen it with like John Jansen and what's her name? Jesus Drugs have broken up
Uh-huh.
and they had a big fight in public. It's always something completely insane. There was another one that was
They
like,
click on it and it's like Alexis giving an interview being like, we have our ups and downs, but we're going to stay together.
exactly. Or like there was one where it was like Jennifer Aiden gave Teresa Giudice's husband millions of dollars and now she's coming after him for it. And I was like, none of this is true. But the crazy thing is like I always click on the comments to be like, are people commenting on it being like, this is fake?
Right.
No. People are commenting on it being like, I knew it. I knew it. This confirms everything I knew when I was watching the show. And I was like, oh, okay. So I do recognize that we know this, there's a lot of women of a certain age watching Bravo, and they are probably on Facebook and no other social media. And that's how
Mhm.
they confirm a lot of like their own bullshit, because you have like fake stuff like this that like also adds on to it.
Mhm.
But that doesn't explain to me why on Instagram and on Threads, which is millennials and Gen Z mostly, you have people who I thought were people of sense being like, Michelle and Jesse are both so toxic. And I said, we're going to both sides this? He he drank 2 bottles of champagne before anybody woke up, and you guys are going to both sides this?
Let's take his behavior out of it. Let's talk about the headband.
Uh,
Why is it in the middle of your skull, sir? That in itself is reason for me to be team Michelle. Is
and
he
look,
growing out a ponytail, do you think? I've noticed
no.
the coiffed is going further and further back, and I do feel like in the evolution of his midlife crisis, a man bun would be next in the trajectory.
No, but I think he has one of those headbands that like expands and you can shrink it. So sometimes he pulls it all the way back. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like a sleeping bonnet. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a hair trainer. Like that's how it stays back. Is like, oh,
Oh,
like we're back from the winery. Let me put on my hair trainer so that my hair continues to move in this backward direction. I do wonder, I would like to see him brush his hair on camera. Like brush it down. Is there a big bald spot that he has done a huge comb over?
I believe that there probably is. He's 43 years old. Like, and the other thing I want everybody to focus on is that, and I'm married to a short king myself. These men are short. These
Mhm.
are short men in LA. Okay. Jax is short. Jax wears lifts in his shoes. Like, these are men under 6 foot. And again, no disrespect to men under 6 foot. I myself am married to a man who is just barely 5'8". Okay.
Mhm.
No
Mhm.
disrespect to that. But these are men who try to function in the world with like tall man energy, but are very, very much not tall. Like, whenever Jesse walks around now, I look at how short his pants are.
Yeah, he just the puffing out of the chest and like the little like like
It's like,
like
he's-
he walks literally like that scene in The Office when they're talking about the bed bugs being so pompous. They were walking around like this. Like that's how Jesse Lally
It is.
moves through this
It is.
world.
Like when they went in race car, like when they went racing and he was just like, I'm just gonna have my tits out. It's like, this is so weird. You're such a weird person. And I totally understand Michelle being like, he's so strange, you guys. Like he's so weird.
Well, he also is going through the thing that I think all men go through when they are no longer with the woman who has like kept them in check.
Yeah.
And Tom Schwartz went through this too, where they no longer have what they claim is like their hater, their no woman, their no person, the one that's like doing whatever. And then guess what happens when you don't have somebody telling you you're being fucking weird? You bleach your hair and start wearing terry cloth button downs, Tom Schwartz.
Yeah.
And so I feel like with Jesse, we're seeing some of these like weird choices that nobody is there to say like, hey, maybe you don't wear little underwear pantaloons on screen. That's not going to translate the way you think it's going to.
Those underwear.
What
Like
were they, more?
they were, first of all, they were like a grayish color. Like they were like
It wasn't a color that seemed like it started that color, which was the most concerning part. And I don't know if it faded or if it got to be that color from a lighter color. I don't know which is worse.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. I
Like
don't
Baby
like
New
it.
Year.
It How dare you do that to Baby New Year?
Sorry, I'm so sorry to Baby New Year. You didn't deserve that.
Yeah. That's a lot. It was a lot. It was really disturbing to see. And also they're so big.
So big.
They were like up
There's
to
so
his
much material. But again, maybe they're made for someone of a taller stature.
Yeah, and he was just like, I'm gonna go to the big and tall shop and like get these
I
big
can
underwear.
do a couple rolls like I used to do with my like Sofie shorts.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they look a little bit like. In Summer House, I saw Amanda was wearing these like poofy short dress thingies. I was like, it kind of looks like that, like, but like a bad version, like a Temu version of it, and also it's underwear.
Yeah.
And also
are you
it's
wearing that
dingy.
under those tight pants? No wonder you're in a bad mood all the time.
Yes,
Bunching and wedgies galore.
so
But yeah,
gross.
I wonder if people, because he is flying more under the radar. And yes, when juxtaposed with Jax Taylor, I understand that like he is second fiddle in theory.
Mhm.
But I almost wonder if it's like if you haven't dealt personally with a man like this, you don't see the warning signs. But I feel like the way that he navigates through arguments and conversations, like he's always telling on himself. Like in the after show, they bring up the like, oh, did you spend all the money thing? And he's like going after Michelle, going after Michelle. As soon as they bring that up, he's like, you know what? I think it's not appropriate that we're talking about finances right now.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so you're not answering that one. I've got, okay. And then also when he's like, anytime he apologizes, it's literally the narcissist prayer, which is that didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it's not a big deal. And if it is, it's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you did deserve it.
Yeah, 100%. And that is why Michelle is literally losing her goddamn mind. Now, I will say one of my favorite things about Michelle is how she talks. And she's a baby bird learning how to speak for the first time. It's the funniest thing in the world. It's so good. And then even when she's losing, but then when she loses her mind and she finally starts screaming, you're like, oh, Michelle knows how to talk.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I was trying to pinpoint like what is the voice? Like is it an AI bot? Is it like
It is.
Is it like a phone call when you're going through a tunnel and so it's kind of like choppy? There's something about the way that she enunciates words that is so fascinating.
My favorite is threatening. She keeps threatening me. It's the best.
Michelle.
She said at one point she looked at Jasmine and the other Michelle, Melissa, I don't know, Jasmine's girlfriend, and said, "How did you guys originally met?"
Which also, it's like, how long have you known these people? You're not going to beat the anti-gay rumors here, babe.
Yeah, exactly. They've been together for like 4 years or something. Like it's not new. Okay. All right. So the Valley this episode, it's the Jesse. We pick back up with Jesse in his weird underwear. Then everybody goes to sleep, wakes up the next morning. Jesse has had 2 bottles of champagne already, but they're going to go to a vineyard. And on the way to the vineyard, the van breaks down because this is the van that Jesse has organized and nothing that Jesse does is going to go well. They end up getting in a bunch of Ubers and going to the vineyard. And that is where we have this like scene with Michelle and Jesse where Jesse has now decided that he wants to have a conversation with Michelle. He calls her an escort again. Then he says, okay, well, I'm sorry for calling you an escort. Obviously, I don't mean it. Well, you keep fucking saying it over and over again. They go back to the house and they have a very dramatic conversation on the terrace where she really rips into him and says, you're a fucking loser. You spent all of our money. And what do you want me to, what else do you want me to tell people about you? And then we also on the side have a scene with a plot with Danny Bucco
Mm.
getting secretly drunk, and not so secretly drunk at the vineyard, but then secretly continuing to get secretly drunk in the pantry. And then he skips out on dinner. And at the end of the dinner, Brittany crashes out because she doesn't like the fact that Nia's just saying, well, Danny's just tired all the time. So a lot of dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
Crazily to watch it and go, Kristen and Luke are like the most normal people here.
Yeah,
It's
what a wild time to be alive, honestly.
truly.
Yeah, it's so weird to see. I mean, I think part of the reason, and this is kind of how I feel about the Valley in general, is like I think it's one of the best shows on right now. And also, I don't know if anyone should watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna keep
Mhm.
tuning in every week, but like I think that it is one of the only shows. Oh my, the Mormon Wives just came back out,
I
and
know.
we've
Let's
got
not.
a new diva has entered the chat, and her last name is literally like McHorsville or something. You can't write it, but like
Really?
it's literally like McHorson or something. Yeah, she's the one that was like taking showers with Taylor and her husband.
Slutty
Yeah.
swing face.
Yes. Soft swinger. But besides that, like I feel like a lot of these shows have become so self-produced, and this is one of the few shows where like we're getting it. Like we're getting it all. We're seeing the like demise of these absolutely toxic relationships, but it's just so bleak.
It is so bleak. It's so sad. All right, we already started talking about Jesse and Michelle, and I want to continue this conversation because I do think it's important, because people on the internet are just like, Michelle also eggs Jesse on. And I didn't quite understand what this was about until I watched the after show. So on the after show, we learned that there was a meeting that happened with Jesse and Michelle before they started filming, where they actually came to an agreement on what they were going to talk about on the show. And apparently with Michelle and Jesse, Michelle did, while they were together still but estranged, went and kissed somebody else. And she didn't like that. And she didn't want that brought up on camera. And she regretted it and whatever. But at that point, she was like ready to leave her husband. Like apparently, Kristen has said that when she met Michelle, she was fucking miserable and she wanted to leave him. And she was trying to find her own apartment and move out because she has hated Jesse for so long.
Right.
So Jesse and Michelle, like, there's no love between them. There's no love at all.
And to be clear, in the after show, Jesse agreed that he
Yes.
wouldn't bring up the kissing or the cheating because they agreed it would not be good for their daughter.
Yes. So that is agreed upon. And I think the other thing that was likely agreed upon is the fact that Michelle's not going to talk about Jesse's financial issues, right? So those are two things that they agree upon. And then the very first episode or the second episode, we find out that Michelle says, I don't like this girlfriend that you have. And I think up until that point, that woman was maybe going to be on the show. But that is when Shishu went and told everybody that that girl was actually sleeping around with the guy from Baywatch, David
Which is
Hasselhoff.
still, I love that Shishu 100%. She is the keeper of all the locations. You know, she at night looks at her phone and looks at her little Tamagotchis all across the land and was like, someone's here with the Baywatch man. That's odd.
I just love it. She wishes them all good night. She does little prayers for each one.
It's like, good night, moon, good night, whatever. Good night, Stassi in the Valley. Good night, Baywatch man. Good night, Jesse Lally in your pantaloons.
It's so funny. And so I think that after that happened and Jesse was embarrassed on camera to find out that this girl that he is likely trying to bring on camera and on the show is not actually being faithful to him, he breaks up with her. And this woman then starts threatening Michelle and starts sending cease and desist to everybody on the show because she doesn't want her to be her. She doesn't want them discussing her on the show at all. Right. And so I think that there's like a production filming aspect of it that people always forget is going on these shows.
Right.
So I think Jesse Lally gets embarrassed on camera. And once that man is embarrassed on camera, he said, fuck this bitch. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. So then he starts saying this shit about the escort stuff and you cheated on me and oh the honey in the cabinet and da 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 da. Listen, man, if your strange wife falls in love with a weirdo guy with bug eyes who sells honey at the bottom of Runyon Canyon, then you're the loser here. Like, I can't believe that that guy was competition for you.
Well, it's just a weird thing because it's one of those things where every accusation is actually a
Yeah,
confession.
yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
so he is upset that she doesn't like his partner. So he is like doubling
Yep,
down and also still making it seem like they're together, even though I think behind the scenes, like he
they
had
were
broken up
broken
with
up.
her.
Yeah,
So even then, it's like his whole thing is like, well, you're clearly not happy because you're not happy for me. And
yeah.
it's like, well, let's just hold up a mirror and say that exact same phrase of like, you're clearly not happy because you're not happy for her either. And let's be clear, you don't need to be happy for your ex in order
Not at
for you to
all.
be happy. I would
Mm-mm.
argue we all play the who's doing better game, and there is no greater feeling than running into an ex and realizing you're ahead.
And you know, this is going to go into Summer House later, but I wrote in my notes we need to discuss men's definition of if you're happy, because I think a man's definition of if you're happy means that you never ever talk about your ex again. And I think that for women, a big part of being happy is knowing that your ex is miserable. So I think I think that
Truly.
that's
Or at least knowing that your ex is no longer your problem, which means if your ex is not happy, that is not your responsibility to make sure he's happy, which in turn makes me happy.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. The other thing about Jesse and Michelle that I want everybody to remember, and it's just something I just learned in the after show this week, is that Michelle is 8 years younger than Jesse.
Mhm.
Jesse is 43, Michelle is 35. They got married in 2017. So she was really young, right?
Yeah.
And
And
then
I
she gets yeah.
And I feel like this happens a lot because they even talk about like their first date. They like met and then he took her to this winery and then they drank 18 bottles of champagne. And it's like, I feel like there is this idea sometimes when you are a younger woman and you are dating an older guy, it's like, yeah,
Yep.
you're in your party era, you're in your 20s. And then as you start to mature, she becomes a mom. She wants to stay home more. And like he is not giving up that lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that thing of oh well you're not fun anymore. We don't like fuck in the middle of the office anymore. And it's like, well, they also had their daughter during COVID. They had
Mhm.
their daughter in 2020 and she says that at that point she had stopped working to take care of their daughter and Jesse also then decided to stop working and then Jesse blew away all of their money. And Jesse's like, oh, there's like a narrative that Michelle wants to push of like, I blew away all of our money. But the thing is, Michelle had access to everything. So if I'm the one that blew it all away, well, she knew about it. So she's at fault too. And I was like, what? That literally makes no sense. You are such a fucking
Right, because
monster.
you also know this would be the guy that's like, "You're always checking up on me. You don't trust about my
Yep.
investments. Why are you looking at our bank account so often?" Like, you know that it was this thing. Like, that's also just objectively a bad argument to say, like, "Well, I may have spent all the money, but she saw me spending it." Well,
Yeah.
what? Like,
Exactly. And so when at the vineyard, when Michelle finally loses it and she's like, you spent all of our money and you want me to scream it everywhere, like in the house that you are like, you didn't love me and you didn't touch me and you didn't do anything for me. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up is that when season one filmed, Michelle and Jesse were very much still showing up like they were married.
right.
And he was trying to show up like he was his like her like protector against Kristen and they were like in a very happy marriage. And I think that that was more so Jesse pushing for a particular narrative on the
Mhm.
TV show to like push this forward. And that's why Kristen lost her mind too, because she was like, you guys don't like each other. Like,
Right.
you hate each other. And she's maybe a homophobe.
But I also like it was interesting because in season 1, it was very much presented as like Michelle has the ick, and
Hmm.
rightfully so. And again, we'll get into the ick more in just a
Yeah.
moment with Summer House, but like it was presented like I have the ick. I don't want to. Michelle was not trying to be intimate with Jesse when it
Hmm.
now is coming out. And of course, I think this happens like in a
Over time.
relationship when
Yeah.
it happens slowly and over time. But like if he's not meeting her needs, he's not wanting to touch her, he's not supporting them financially, he's not helping with the baby, then he's pinning it on her of like, well, we don't fuck on my desk in the middle of the day. It's like, well, are you going to arrange a babysitter and then also like make me feel worthy and beautiful to want to fuck you on a desk? Like, it was just interesting that the whole season 1, it was presented like Michelle was checked out and he was like fighting for their marriage. And it's like, meanwhile, like, what did it take to get her to this point of being like, I'm fucking out?
Yeah, and also again, there's something really frustrating about, and we've seen this happen time and time again on TV shows, is when the cameras are up, suddenly a man wants to act like he gives a shit about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very obvious. It's very Jax Taylor. And, I don't understand why everybody's like both sidesing this when last week Jesse said, I think Jax needs support too. We should be calling him and checking up on him. I tell him what we're doing every single day of filming.
Yeah.
Well,
But I also think that Jesse is manipulative in all aspects of his life because I don't think for one second he's doing that to be a good friend to Jax.
no.
He does have a weird, like, he looks up to Jax in a way. Like, their whole conversation, every time they bring up that fucking boys chat, I just want to vomit. Like, it is so weird, like,
I
the
hate it.
toxic shit in that situation. But I also think Jesse's probably keeping Jax abreast of what's going on because he wants to keep Jax losing his shit. So then
Yes.
the cameras are pointed over here and not at him losing his shit.
Exactly. I do want to bring up also that Jesse's girlfriend is now, they're still together. I guess he got back together with this woman who was fucking David Hasselhoff. She's like an anti-vaxxer and a flat earther and like a QAnon conspiracy theorist from Newport Beach, Orange County,
Oh
California.
no.
And that's the woman that he wanted to bring on the show. Listen, it's not great.
Honestly, Michelle probably saved his ass again. Because like if he's getting an okay edit that half of the internet thinks both of them are wrong, but imagine he brought that girl on. What was that going to look like for him?
Yeah, and also I get it where Michelle's like, "Hey man, my daughter is sharing a house with a flat earther." And I may have said that the don't say gay laws were not that bad, but at least I'm not a flat earther.
But at least I do believe in the blue origin rocket that went up in our atmosphere with those brave women.
I do believe that Katy Perry went up to space. Okay, so there is that. Give me credit. Danny and Nia.
Mm.
What do you think about these two?
I mean, I think that they definitely have the front-facing. They give me like, and this is a weird comparison because I don't think personality-wise they give me this, but they very much give me Heather Dubrow, Terry Dubrow vibes.
Very, yes.
Of like they are a united front and they have their public personas that they are both committed to above all else, and they'll deal with the other shit behind the scenes. That being said, I feel like this fight at the end of the episode was funny because it wasn't wrong, but it was just misplaced. It's like if they had picked any other occasion to point out these things, it would have made more sense. But like Nia did have plausible deniability by being like, yeah, my husband's drunk. And I think she was also doing that thing that like, and maybe I'm telling on my family, I don't know if this is a universal experience, but like the older women of my family, after, they've stayed up till whatever time drinking 1,000 bottles of wine at night, the next morning they're like, oh, I'm gonna go get some Advil. I slept wrong, my back hurts. And I'm like, does your back hurt or are you fucking hungover? Or like, oh, I'm just a little tired. Oh, I gotta have some coffee. Like I just got a tension headache. Like where we all know, but we're just like playing the part of like, oh yeah, you totally didn't, funnel Chardonnay last night, like, so I don't think she was necessarily covering for him, but I do understand the frustration of like, my whole life is falling apart and this is like fucking annoying. Like your husband's out here getting drunk, touching people's asses, making people feel uncomfortable, and we're not talking about that, but I have to talk about my whole situation.
Yeah. Danny's also giving me sinister vibes. Okay. This guy, it's like creepy youth pastor, very weird energy. Like he is from Ohio, but has like a weird Southern accent. Like I don't understand his accent ever. He sounds like he's from like Oklahoma sometimes, but he's literally from Ohio. Like nobody from Ohio talks that way.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
No.
Okay, it's a car alarm going off
Oh,
outside my house.
that's Danny outside your window.
He's like, how dare you? And then he just makes like zombie sounds. Um,
Danny gives like purge energy. Like he gives like horror movie where he is revealed to be the killer, but he's gonna smile at you while he stabs you 1,000 times.
yes. And also I feel like his whole persona of like I think that Danny is a kind of man who in his marriage does expect his wife to cover up for him, right?
Mhm.
Very much like a pastor. But like his whole thing of like what he did with Jasmine and her girlfriend in the after show, he's like, "Oh, when Jasmine sat down and talked to me about that, I was like, really? We're going to bring this up right now?" And I was like, yeah, she gets to bring that up whenever she wants, dude. Like, what do you mean? And I think, again, they're so settled on what their public persona is going to be. Like,
Mhm.
Nia is a pageant girl and Danny is whatever he is.
Mhm.
And they're like a united front. And she's just going to be like, oh, honey, are you tired? Go to sleep. Like, even him being like, why didn't you wake me up for dinner? And she's like, nope, nope. You're going to go straight to sleep. You do not need to be awake right now.
Yeah.
We do not need you to open your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And I think Nia is more in control than people are likely.
Absolutely.
Like
I get the
she
impression that
yeah.
behind the scenes, she is calling more of the shots, which makes me feel better about
Yeah, yeah.
their marriage. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I think that of these couples, again, I do agree. I think that right now Kristen and Luke are healthiest, which is fucking wild. What a world.
Strange.
But
Yeah.
I do think that in terms of compatibility, Nia and Danny seem pretty compatible. Like it seems like they
Yeah.
are aligned. I mean, it seems like they are on the same page of things when it comes to her covering for him. But then also, I think behind the scenes, like she wanted another baby and she's going to get another fucking baby. Like I think that they are a team in a really weird way that I wouldn't personally want to be a part of, but like I think it does semi work for them.
Yeah.
It was telling, and I think it was maybe not this most recent episode, but the one before when they did the montage of them like leaving early and her basically like giving Danny the hook and being like, da 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 da, like we're leaving now, goodbye, like where he hits his limit. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's very clear Danny has a problem with alcohol. Like you don't have to
Yes.
drink every day to have a problem with alcohol when like one is too many and never enough or whatever that phrase is because
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's like once he starts he cannot control himself.
Exactly. And we've seen it even last season where she was like, you're good. You don't need to keep drinking more. You're good. You're
Yeah.
good. Like
Yeah.
she's had to say it to him a couple of times. So, and I definitely believe that when they are privately together, Nia fucking rails into him. Like
Mhm.
I just can tell that like we got a glimpse of it on the phone when she's like, you don't fucking talk to your wife that way. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah, she's like, go and pick up these 3 things from the house, please.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. I forgot my bronzer. I look pasty. You better go and get it right
and
now.
please my deodorant because Zach over here is gonna melt. I resonated so much with Zach this episode of just the constant slew of just like, I'm hot, I'm sweating. Oh, great, I'm the one in the sun. Like his whole storyline this episode was him trying to get access to shade.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Um, I under so
I
Brittany
think,
has
sorry,
yeah,
one last,
yeah,
oh, you're bringing up Brittany, but one
yeah,
last thing is I do think it's twofold. And I think because I always like to break down like, how could you have won this argument? I would love to open a consulting business for Bravo
yeah,
celebrities to be
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
let's roll the tapes back. Where did you go wrong in losing this argument?
Okay, wait, hold on. I think I've discussed this before. It needs to be like a coaching
Yes.
situation where we're like literally like unfortunately I'm married to a sports guy, but like he watches like the the training camp like
Yes.
scenes or whatever where like they like film backstage. I don't know
I know
sport.
what you're talking about, where they're like gearing up for the season, but I want to
Yeah.
have one of those long pointers. I want there to be footage, and then I want to be like, pause. Now I'm going to draw some X's and O's here. Where did you go
Yes.
wrong here?
Yeah, I want to like coach these people how to be better Bravo stars. Like this is what you could have done. And by the way, it's open for everybody. If Lindsay Hubbard wants my coaching advice and also Carl wants my coaching advice, sure, great, wonderful, better fighting.
And guess what? I can train you both, and it's up to you once you're in the ring to put those skills to the test.
Exactly. If you forget everything you've been taught, that's on you. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. Like, okay, so tell me how you think
So
that Nia
with
could have handled this better.
well, no, so I actually think that Nia did perfectly.
Yeah.
Because when it came time that she was confronted of like, your husband's clearly drunk, she's like, yeah, we were at a winery. He's drunk. Like, she
What do
made
you
it
want?
seem
Yeah.
like you're crazy. I was saying this all along when
Yeah.
we all know she wasn't. She was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's just a sweepy baby because he's such a good dad and a working man. It's like, no, he's fucking drunk and he was annoying as shit all day. Because that's where my anger would
Yeah.
come from. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
even if I was Jasmine, I'd be like, yeah, he did touch my butt that one time, but let's talk about how fucking annoying this guy is.
Yeah.
But I think that where like Brittany and them lost the plot a little bit was, well, first of all, I love that Brittany is touchable in this show. I
Yeah.
do feel like that was the issue with her on Vanderpump Rules, is she was so infantilized of like, oh, she's just our little Brittany, like that nobody could ever like
Mhm.
call her on shit. And I think that she doesn't really know what to do when there is pushback on her, because for so long with the girls specifically, she could say whatever she wanted. And it's like, oh, but Brittany, she's just from
She has to deal with
Kentucky and
Jax
she
and
has
like
to
she
deal with Jax.
yeah.
Yeah. Who cares about the pastor? Let's give her her wedding, etc. But I think that
God.
Brittany overplayed her hand when she started talking about her life, because
Yeah.
yes, that is the crux of it. But also, I think that Brittany is just upset that like them covering for each other works. Like they are a
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine Brittany has had to cover for Jax for so many years, but like Jax was an unwilling participant. Like
Yeah.
Brittany probably wishes there were some nights that she could have tucked Jax in and not had him roid rage up. But
Yeah.
so she's watching this and she is both triggered because she has to share her life, but also triggered because they are successfully ish navigating a situation where they're both a united front and have each other's back publicly.
And you brought up a great point, because I'm thinking back to the trip last year at Big Bear where Brittany was like having all those like esophageal issues or whatever. And like she was like, I'm having a lot of ulcers and I should be. And she was laying in bed and she was like, I feel so sick. I feel so sick. And rather than Jax like helping her, he just screamed at her for like an episode and a half about how she drank too much. So here she is seeing like a marriage where it works, where she's like, yeah, my husband drinks too much and then he does weird shit with women and I'm not dealing with that right now. So I just tucked him into bed and turned off the lights. And no, guys, stop asking me if I should go wake him up for dinner. He doesn't need to eat. He's tired. He drove really far and he's a working dad.
Yeah.
And like,
Which is also when they tell on themselves, because I've got to tell you, on a group trip, when the too drunk, annoying fuck finally falls asleep, I'm celebrating. I'm not waking his ass up. I'm going to put a
no.
blanket on him and say, let's change rooms. Like, they're telling on themselves, because if it really was the concern for what he does when he's drunk, well,
Why would you
he's
want him
tucked
here?
away
Yeah.
safely in bed. So let's now enjoy our night away from him.
Exactly. And I think that like Kristen brought up a great point when she's telling Jasmine, like, wait, so you're getting mad at her because she's not saying that he's drinking? Like, that's, like she's like, he's asleep. And I agree. She took him out of harm's she actually protected you.
Mm-hmm.
She took that drunk man and she said he's gonna do and say some weird shit. We gotta go. We gotta put the pin on that. Let's go. Right?
Yeah.
I'm dying at Brittany. First of all, she's hammered. She's so drunk.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing like drunk people trying to talk to other people about their behavior. I'll never forget a family wedding, Nor. And
Yeah.
this was like after my house had burned down. So that was a rough summer. And I was,
Mhm.
I was not drinking for my own mental health and for the protection of others, because it wasn't a good scene whenever I was drinking. So it was a family wedding. I had gone back to the hotel room to go to bed. And throughout the course of the evening, there were many hushed conversations from many different family members, drunk as fuck, coming in my hotel room to talk about how we should stage an intervention for another
other
cousin who was too drunk. And finally, I sat up and I said, I don't think that this is what's going to work right now. But like that is literally just every episode of The Valley. It was like, let's all get drunk and talk about how we should stage an intervention because this person's drinking too much.
Yeah, and you know what? To Zach's point, Zach was like, you guys waited until Nia walked away. Like Kristen and Zach were like, you guys waited until Nia walked away to go and talk shit about her. If you really, really cared about her, if you really, really cared about authenticity, if you wanted to be authentic, then you would actually say it to her face. If you really wanted to have that conversation. But Brittany being like, oh, I have to lay my whole life on the line. Well, yeah, but that's also your choice.
Right.
You are in a shitty marriage where you are tired of covering up for this man. good. I'm so glad. But
Also, that's how they also fucked up in this argument is had they confronted Nia at that table, Nia would have doubled down. If they had
yeah,
said, Nia, he's drunk as shit. You just don't want to deal with his messiness. She probably would have said something like, no, like he's not that drunk. And then they would have been able to bring up the
exactly.
chugging tequila in the closet. But instead, because they allowed her to walk away, then they look like the petty ones talking behind her back. Because the golden rule on Bravo is if you can present something like damning information in a way that's like, I'm just really concerned, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring this up on camera so that the whole world knows about it. Like, that's how
Yes.
you win.
Yeah, exactly. And that's obvious that it's obvious that these guys are still like new. Like
Mhm.
Kristen, that's why Kristen's like, I don't get it. Like this isn't a fight. I don't understand because literally nothing happened. But
Right.
like Janet, your queen Janet, is
Janet.
bad at this, but also she's bad at it because Janet is still functioning in the world like a person who normally does, like pieces of
Yes.
shit like me and you who just talk about people behind their
Uh-huh.
back. And she's not quite like acclimated with how you produce this kind of interaction on a TV show, which is
Mhm.
fine. That's why The Valley is still very good. It's not overproduced yet.
Right.
The last thing I want to talk about with The Valley is Jack saying that he was finally diagnosed as having bipolar disorder.
Mm. Can I tell you,
Yes.
I don't not believe him.
Uh-huh.
I want to say I believe that he has probably received a diagnosis in the past, but as someone who kind of knows the inner workings of a diagnosis process and what
Yes.
a rehab facility looks like and operates, they would never, after 2 days, 3 days, 4 days of him being in residential treatment, also knowing that it is a comorbid issue where he is addicted to cocaine, they
Yes.
would never give him any diagnosis of any kind until he had detoxed from cocaine, because guess what high levels of cocaine looks like? Mania. So they
Yeah.
would never be able to rule it out until he is completely detoxed and has been sober to then tackle the mental health side. So it's bullshit. Like this side, I'm
Yeah.
calling bullshit. There is
Yeah.
no way that in this moment he was diagnosed with bipolar.
And we find out in the after show that he was not diagnosed with
Mhm.
bipolar in that moment. He was diagnosed way before, and he never took his medication because he didn't want to take it. And when they asked him, they probed about it. He was like, "Oh, I was on Lexapro and I didn't want to take it. And then it was another thing, and they said I was depressed, and then I took it for like 2 weeks and it did new shit." Like
Yeah, and Brittany's
Jax,
like, "No, actually that prescription sat he never got it filled."
he never got it filled, and he was like, yeah, I didn't, but like I did it, and I still like didn't like it, and like this is not a man that wants to be better. This is not
No.
a man that wants to be better. He said in the after show, I never yell anymore. But then they also showed last week a segment that was recently taped because they asked Jax why he had his dick out in the middle of the street. Then the paparazzi took pictures of it, and he like flipped out. He was like,
Yeah.
nobody ever scratches their junk. And they're like, yeah, but Jax, like Tom and Jesse are like, but Jax, like, why would you have your entire dick out?
He literally did the equivalent of like when toddler boys are learning how to pee standing up and they like pull their pants all the way down to their ankles, like in front of the toilet. Like, why did you have to pull those shorts to your knees, sir, to scratch your dick?
He's like, oh, it's just a really big dick. That's why. I'm like, okay, so you wanted the paparazzi to take a picture of your dick. Like, that's
Yeah,
really,
so
that's
like what
it
we're
was.
getting at is you're kind of mad that you didn't get the reaction you were hoping for
And
online.
Tom Shorts, fuck him for making me laugh sometimes. Tom Shorts was like, is this like an OnlyFans like preview or what is this?
Can I tell you, I have to speak my truth, Nor.
Do it?
I don't know if it's that I can look at Tom Schwartz in a new way now that Katie has escaped him. You know, he was always
I
like
know.
top of
He
my
was,
list of
he
bugaboos.
was.
Him and fucking Craig Conover, like they
I know.
trigger me in that very specific way. I have been enjoying him lately.
Me too.
That scene of him, like, it was the most Tom Schwartz thing I've ever seen, where he was trying to comfort Jax,
Yeah.
and like put out his hand and then like, and then didn't get there all the way and like pulled it back. I'm like, that is the most Tom Schwartz thing, that like you thought about it, but you didn't fully commit. And then you were like, well, what are the optics on this? I think it's because he's so sad and pathetic now that like anytime he shows up on a random show, he's like, oh, enjoy your marriage while you have it because it can all go away in a second. I'm like, okay, I can deal with this like sad sack Tom Schwartz.
I'm okay with the sad sack Tom Schwartz because it's a real sad sack.
Yes.
In the past, he did the sad sack thing where he was like pretending to be a sad sack, but like actually
Bubba.
an actual menace in the background.
Mhm.
Now it's like, yeah, you lost your job, you lost your money, you lost your restaurant, you don't talk to your best friend. And then also now your
ex-wife had a glow up, and you definitely would get back with her in a second if she just threw you crumbs.
Exactly.
And you've also aged out of the system where you can fuck all these young girls the way that you thought your life would be post
Exactly.
divorce.
And we have too many receipts on you being an absolute dog shit person. And now he is like on the by the way, the Valley After Show, apparently like Lala, Sheena, Brock, Tom, they don't get paid for it. It's a free
You know
gig.
what? I love that.
They just want to talk shit.
They are like, give me, sure, yeah, let me do it. Another thing I have to do to speak my truth. I'm so sorry, Nor, but you made me watch the after show, and these are the consequences.
Yeah.
Brock's new look.
I know.
I'm kind of into it. I think it's the best he's ever looked. The shaved, bleached head. I'm like, it's doing something for me, Brock. You wear those little pointed heels.
I love Brock's heels. Okay, by the way, Brock could wear anything. I think that he is unbelievably attractive.
Well,
like,
let's
it's
not say
so
anything.
annoying.
I would say let's size up a couple sizes. We don't need to be like bursting at the seams, quite literally.
Burst, baby. I'm okay with it. Also, speaking of Sheena and Brock, we found out in the after show that Sheena's hall pass is Dr. Dre. What?
Honestly, I was just so impressed that she didn't find this as a nice segue to remind us that she fucked John Mayer.
I know. I know.
All
She
of the
would.
hall passes, I was like, have you guys never played this game before?
I
The
know.
Little Mermaid?
They're
Sir.
So stupid. And then, Danny and Nia being like, we don't do hall passes because we actually know famous people. Well, yeah, that doesn't mean that you can fuck them. Just because that doesn't mean that's a real opportunity. That doesn't mean that like, you really have to go through with the hall pass. It's just a
Right.
game.
Also,
Relax.
someone literally said a Disney character, so maybe pick another fictional character, and they get there
Exactly.
eventually. I mean, Jasmine was like, here, please say this so we can like move on with our time here.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's move on, actually. Let's talk about Summer House. Let's head on over to the Hamptons.
Yes.
This episode, Jesse got broken up with. All that really happened is that Sierra and Jesse had a closure conversation on the beach where Sierra was like, yeah, I'll take your apology, but I don't really like you. And then they had some scenes in the city. Amanda launched her bikini company. And then Jesse got broken up with and immediately flips it onto a woman-on-woman fight.
And how dare you? Lindsay Hubbard freed us all.
Oh
At
my
her
God,
freedom
of
dinner.
course. Lindsay had an icon. Like, I loved it because there's so much going on this season, unlike the next generation of Summer House cast, that like Lindsay having a sandwich dinner. Lindsay making sandwiches for all of her friends, doing a post with a full-on timeline, celebrating the day that she was humiliated on camera and broken up with. I mean, guys, the fact that that was like not even the main part of the episode, it's just like Lindsay Hubbard does, the devil works hard, but Lindsay Hubbard works harder, because that was
the emancipation of Hub House. I am so obsessed with Lindsay Hubbard. You know how I feel about her. And I hear the criticisms, I hear the critiques, but she makes people feel things. And ultimately, that's what we want from our characters on Bravo, that you cannot tell me that this is not high comedy. She is ready to burst. She is like 8 months pregnant at this point, and she sits down and she says, ching, ching, I'm clocking in. And then there was a point where she finishes her speech, and I know we'll circle back, but like she finishes her speech and she goes, Emerald, why don't you give a weird speech? Yeah, and then when Lexi says, I have a speech, the way that Lindsay's eyes, like her body lit up, and she goes, oh, it was like a proud older sister. Like she was so delighted that her freedom dinner was picking up steam. I was like so delighted for her delighting in this next generation of being messy.
Exactly. And I love that even in her fight with Carl about the freedom, she's like, for example, Lexi is now free and Jesse is now free.
Aren't we all free? Isn't that what we all want, is to be free?
I'm dying. Because when she was like coming up with this, she was playing like Freedom by Beyonce and like Kendrick Lamar.
100%.
Like she was just like, she was in the zone. What did you think about Lindsay's Instagram post?
I mean,
She was so proud of it.
she was so proud of it. I think that it is so Lindsay, and that's the
Yeah.
magic of it. Like, do I think that it is weird? Yes. Do I think that anybody should have been surprised? No. Like, I think I like the fact that she did it like on her way to the Hamptons. And I love the way that people learn how to interact with Lindsay. It was so perfectly captured when West was like, I read your post. And she's like, read or saw? Read. That's the other thing I realized about her voice. I always just assumed she was drunk and screaming and that's her cadence.
That's
But
her voice.
this summer has taught me that's just how she talks.
Yeah.
Which is just, that's providing a whole new context for me
She's
of
like
Lindsay.
always on the attack, which honestly I understand.
But then the very next scene, Amanda's like, so I saw your post. And it was like, oh, that's a girl that's lived with Lindsay for 9 summers now who knows like there is a difference between read and saw.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't know. I saw it and I read it. I don't know what you want from me. And she's like, she's like, well, what about it? What about it? And he's like, So it's
are
like
you free or are you still under the shackles of Carl?
I love her so much. She did this post and then Carl's like, yeah, it was sent to me so many times and da-da-da-da-da. Shut up. I cannot tell you the way I have turned on Carl. I hate that man so much. He is so terrible. Ben and Ronnie said this on Watch What Happens Live and have not stopped. Watch What Happens. I have not stopped thinking about this. The fact that one of his biggest like critiques that Lindsay was like that he couldn't perform sexually, and his whole brand is called soft.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Oh, buddy. Oh no. I mean,
sometimes it just has to be soft and you just rub up against the person, okay?
Sometimes you just gotta stick it in and hope that something happens.
Oh, that's when it wakes up.
It's so funny because I am on the opposite trajectory as everybody because I was a day one Carl hater. If this is your first time, listeners, listening to me, yes, it's true. I hate all men. You have to prove to me that I shouldn't hate you, just baseline.
Yeah.
But he always annoyed me. And then, all of our friends, I would always joke that like I had to get out a spritzer bottle for Amanda and like hose her down whenever she talked about Carl. And then it was like, Carl's hot, Carl's this. I find him, I think, similar to Tom Schwartz. Maybe I just love to see a broken man because I find him this summer to be the most palatable for me because, again, he's being presented the way he always has been. Like, he's always been a dork, and he's finally getting the dork edit. We're finally laughing in his face about tan lines. And I think that that's refreshing to me because he had this persona of being like a ladies' man and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he was just tall and fucked up.
Yeah. I think the thing that I hate about Carl is that he keeps making himself the victim of his own breakup. Like he chose to break up with Lindsay. And so for him being like, you posted this whole thing about like, it's so publicly about our sir, you asked cameras to show up so that you could film yourself breaking up with her. And he still stands with the idea that when I had that conversation on the couch, I didn't think that we were totally breaking up. And she was like,
I believe that he believed that, but also that just shows that you do not know Lindsay Hubbard. You're not going to push pause on an engagement with Lindsay Hubbard and have her be like, okay.
Yeah, because you guys were going to leave to get married like a month later. Right. So like that's crazy that you would then because he's not going to do any of the work to call the vendors and cancel any of the stuff. Like Lindsay's like, do you know how much fucking work it took me to I was just complaining to you about this right before we started recording. I found an Airbnb for Ocean City, Maryland. And after I booked it, my cousin was like, well, this seems really far away. And it's like, well, you know what? Are you going to do the work to find a new place? It's like, Carl, are you going to do the work to like call the people and call our friends and family or whatever? Or is your idea of doing the work having cameras show up and film this?
Right.
And so for him to be like, you say you're happy, but if you're happy, then why are you going to? part of her happiness is listing out all of her successes, because all of her successes highlight what a loser you are.
Right. One thing about Lindsay, she loves a list. And
Love a
this is a
list.
list and a timeline of reflection, and it does bring her joy to know that you and your soft flaccid penis are now opening a soft flaccid bar for
And
sober
they're not.
people.
Did you
And let me
see?
tell you, I walked by the location
Mm-hmm.
because it's by where my brother lives. So when I was in the city, it's like an industrial park. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing that he bought is fucking huge.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I don't
I
know
don't know
about
how
that.
long you think people are going to sit around for sody pops, but it's not going to be that long.
For like
And
$20 sody pops.
like also with like, what is it? Like they're like mindful herbs or whatever. Like, tell me that there's shrooms in it that are actually going to fuck me up.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not paying
I don't
$20
want any
for
of the
it.
like ayahuasca, whatever that I always get. Like, do you get those targeted ads where it's like,
Ashwagandha.
I started taking these pills and now everyone wants to fuck me. I'm like, how did I get on this side of the
What
internet?
happened? Yeah,
How did I
exactly.
get here? But I think the thing with Lindsay and Carl, their crux of it is like they are never going to agree on the other person's experience.
Yes.
And I think that they are both feeling like the victim because they feel like they are not understood in their breakup, which is hilarious because the reason they broke up is they didn't feel understood in their relationship.
Yes.
But I think that both of their truths are their truths. Like they believe it. Like I do feel like Lindsay was blindsided, even though we as viewers, that whole time I was like, oh, thank God they didn't get married.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think she was blindsided because she just was like, well, this is what a relationship is, and we're gonna like forge ahead. Whereas Carl was like, so this isn't healthy, and I'm gonna break it off. But I think now Carl's upset because Lindsay projected herself as the victim, and he's like, but I was the one who was like brave enough to call. Like we all saw this, right?
Yeah, but also like fuck Carl. I just can't.
Oh, fuck
stand.
Carl. Yeah, fuck Carl,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Because what we're seeing now with Jesse and Lexi is very interesting, because I think it also again brings up that whole thing of like a man's definition of, if you're really happy, then why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like him, Jesse and Sierra have a conversation, and Sierra's like, hey man, I don't like how you're moving. I don't like that you're using me and your relationship to like stir shit up. I should not be involved. And he says, I'm sorry. And then she's like, okay. And then she's like, that's fine. We'll just get over this. It'll be fine. A couple of days will pass. We'll be done with the summer. We're not really going to need to deal with each other for a couple of weeks. It's fine. He then goes to Lexi and is like, oh, it seems like we're just show friends. So I don't really like that she didn't accept my apology. So he talks shit about Sierra on Sunday night to Lexi. The next day, he goes to the US Open with Sierra and is posting pictures about it. Lexi, as a girlfriend, do you think that she's in the right to be like, that's really confusing?
I think Lexi is a girlfriend or a friend. It's kind of funny exactly how I would feel if I was in that house, how I would feel about Lexi and Jesse.
Yeah.
Where it's like, please, for the love of God, don't come to me and vent about this relationship and talk to me about how bad things are and then show up at the house together the next weekend. So it's funny that she's getting frustrated by him doing that exact same pattern with Sierra, because it's like, well, that's literally what the two of you have done to the rest of the house all summer. So I don't think she's in the wrong for this. I also think there can be a difference between like, cool, so we were just talking shit about her. You made me not trust this girl, and now you're like out here posting on Instagram. Like, that's fucking weird. There's a difference between that and being like, I don't like that you're hanging out with Sierra and I don't trust her and you're cheating on me. Like, I think she was probably just fucking annoyed because it's another inconsistency in your character.
And here's the other thing that I think that we need to point out is that Sunday he talks shit about her. Monday he's at the US Open. Monday is also the day that Lexi's like, come hang out with us. My best friend is here in town. And he says, I have to go get a manicure at 9 p.m. And so she's like, you were just hanging out with Sierra all day, the girl that you said that you don't like, the girl that everybody has made me think there's something going on with you. And I now feel uncomfortable, and I feel like I can't trust you, and I feel like I don't like these girls in the house, and I feel like completely lost. Like, I understand Lexi's thought process completely, but I also believe that when Jesse talks shit about Sierra or West or anybody else in the house, Lexi probably is like she probably validates him. Like, people love to use that word right now. but she probably confirms for him a lot of those things by also being like, yeah, no, I totally see what you mean. And then she like adds on a little more sauce to like
Mhm.
add on the conversation, which then
And
Jesse
then Jesse's
uses.
a shit talker, so then he's
Yes,
gonna take those nuggets and not say how we got to this place, but is
exactly.
then gonna sprinkle it. I always feel that way of like if somebody comes to me and is like, I don't know, if it was like me, you, and Donnie, and you came to me and you were like, "Hey, so Donnie was talking so much shit about you. He said this, 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 and this." My gut reaction is never to be like, "Fuck." Well, it is. It would be to be like, "Fuck you, Donnie." But also, I'm looking at you sideways because I'm like, "Well, how
Where did
were
it start?
you like? How was he so comfortable to come to you to say this, 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 and this? And why didn't you shut it down? Like you coming to
Exactly.
me after the fact just makes me look at you weird too." And I feel like no
Exactly.
one does that with Jesse, which is so frustrating.
And nobody does that actually on reality TV shows. It's a real blind spot for these people because they will have somebody come and talk shit about them and then never question like, well, what was the rest of the conversation? Like when did
Yeah.
this happen and why
Which I
was it
guess it is
said?
their job to, like, take that information and report back, which I think in a funny way, I think that just like Janet isn't totally acclimated to reality TV, Jesse's that way too, because
Yes.
you can tell he's somebody that operates through his life saying things or saying half truths or pointing something out or talking shit and then never getting confronted with it. Whereas, like, in this case, you're gonna talk shit and we're gonna go to that freedom dinner and we're gonna hash it all out in front of
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Lexi breaks up with him. And I think that when she broke up with him, she did something that again, a guy like Jesse has a really hard time with. He thinks that he is a golden retriever. He thinks that he's great. And so when Lexi points out like, "Hey, you did a couple of things that made me feel like I can't trust you and you tell half truths and I feel like I couldn't really figure out what was going on with us and I don't feel comfortable." He is again, much like Jesse Lally, embarrassed on camera. And
Mhm.
his whole thing is, well, you're painting me out to be a terrible guy. Like men love to like, you know, get a tiny criticism and be like, well, everyone's gonna think that I'm a piece of shit. But it's like his biggest concern is now how this is gonna play
Yes.
on TV.
And that's been his MO, and he's been telling on himself all summer about that.
Yes.
Anytime they had an issue, it was never, "I'm so sorry that I put you in a position to feel that way," or "I'm so sorry that you are feeling that way, like, what can I do to make you
Yep.
trust me?" It was always, "Well, this is gonna make me look bad," or "Now I'm doing all of these things that actually are baseline things you should do if you wanna be in a relationship with someone," but it's like, it's just so clear that it's always so front facing of like, "Well, how is this going to be perceived of me?" rather than like, "How did my behaviors make you feel?" And I actually loved that she said like, it's not about the manicure, like, because then later he's literally, like, showing off his hands, like, "Look, clear polish," whatever. It's like, we don't need to prove that you had a manicure. I liked that she said, like, "The fact that my gut reaction was that you were lying is the problem. It's not about you going to a manicure or not."
Yeah.
And I feel like that needs to be said more in relationships. Like, I always
Yeah.
say, like, if you feel like you need to go through your partner's phone, the trust is already lost. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you find. It's like you already don't trust them. And I think she did a good job of explaining, like, it's not about the manicure. It's that my gut reaction was like, "Oh, well, he's lying."
And the thing is, again, I don't think that Jesse has the emotional or like the understanding that like somebody like Lexi, who, for what it's worth, did we talk about the fact that of what you've been comparing her to? Are you ready to talk about it
I'm
on
ready to step into
pod?
my power and speak my
Okay, it's time.
truth.
It's time for another truth telling by Chelsea.
Uh-huh.
Chelsea,
Um,
what do you think about Lexi?
okay. I like her. I do. Now, she does take it too far every single time with saying things like, "You made the light slowly die from me." Like, okay, Lexi, we can pump the brakes. I think she's stunning. I think she's gorgeous. I think she's talented. I think that she really did her best to make a splash into a cast where we know notoriously there are a lot of one season wonders
Mm-hmm.
rolling around here.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm about to say is a compliment. She looks like the hot, sexy female gremlin from Gremlins 2. The same bone structure, the same features squished on that tiny little head, the lips, the poses. She is the sexy little gremlin from Gremlins 2.
And by the way, we are saying this with immense love and admiration for Lexi. She's beautiful, but especially when once you see it and when you continue to like look at the rest of her pictures, every time she shows up now, it's all I see.
Yes.
It's literally all I see.
It's like a little brat stall showing up to set, but it's also, you pointed out the difference between her resting face
Yeah.
and her photo face. The
Yeah.
photo face is very Gremlin facing.
Yeah, her resting face, like, on the show, whatever, it's normal, but when she is posing for pictures, she does this thing where her eyes are half closed and kind of, like, somehow squinting back, and then
Mhm.
her bone structure is so pronounced and her lips are so wide. It's honestly, it's amazing because it's like, hello, we are all products and children of America's Next Top Model. We
Mhm.
have been trying to contort our faces like this for years, and I can't.
No,
So,
I
it's
can't smize at all. I've been trying since I was 14.
yeah, I don't know how to spies at all. You should look at my passport picture and my license. My real ID, I look insane because I if my kids looked at my passport picture and they said, "Mama, why do you look so sad?" And
Did they do where you weren't allowed to smile?
yeah, but then I
Yeah.
like tried to smile a little bit with my
And you
eyes and they were like
constipated?
I look like I'm
Oh.
frowning. So again, we mean this with utmost love for for our girl Lexi here, but she does look
Gremlin
like
goddess.
a gremlin goddess, okay?
Yeah.
Our gremlin goddess Lexi, she really laid it out at the table. She said, I'm about to emancipate myself from these shackles," because Jesse goes to the room and he says, she was like mad about like me and Sierra being cool with each other. And Sierra's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Kyle takes that phone, goes directly to Lexi and says, "Hey, what happened with you? Did he say something? Did you say something about Sierra?" And she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I love that when she brought it into the table and she's like, "That's what Kyle said." Paige is like, "Well, if Kyle said it, it was probably not true." But it is true. He
It
did
is
do
true.
that.
And he was making, and this is where there is that like Jesse loophole, because he didn't explicitly say, we sat down, she broke up with me because I hung out with Sierra watching tennis.
Yeah.
But you just came down from the balcony to get broken up with. They ask how you're doing, and you say, she's upset that I hung out with Sierra. Yes, you didn't say that's why she broke up with me or that's specifically what we just talked about, but,
Yeah.
like, the implication is that she broke up with you because of Sierra. Like, he did that intentionally
Yes. And
because
that's
he
the
didn't wanna
thing.
have to say, "Oh, yeah, remember that fucking toe situation that I don't think anybody's talking enough about?"
Nobody's talking enough about it, but I think there is a reason why nobody's talking enough about it. We'll get to it in just a second. The other thing about Lexi I do want to say is that I will ding her where she needs to be dung. Her saying
Ding
that
dong.
her saying Jesse's the reason why I couldn't get close to you guys and like why I would think no, Lexi.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No,
No, we're not gonna do that.
you weren't available to be laying in the girl's bed, having those talks that would make you be able to bond because you were off fighting or fucking or hugging, or I guess not fucking because of her parameters, but like you were off drinking tequila with thing one and thing two, your family members and Jesse, instead of instead of hanging out with the girls all summer.
Yeah, and there was nothing stopping you from like being like, "Oh, Jesse and I made out," and then going to the girls and being like, "Girls, okay, I need to know what you guys think. I made
Yeah.
out with Jesse. What do you guys think about this?" Like, you could have looped the girls in from jump, and you didn't because you were so smitten by this loser.
By the poster of the movie Smile.
So weird. Okay, like now he fancies himself a crooner.
Mm,
He's singing.
of course he is.
He thinks he's Harry Connick Jr.
Uh, you know, if we could just bottle the audacity and sell it, we wouldn't need antidepressants.
No, we wouldn't. Now, going back to what happened with the toes, this
Okay.
is going to bring up something that the internet has been talking about, but not necessarily being discussed in the show. Last week, Emerald was at the house, and they
What?
completely edited him out of the episode. I've also seen clips of like them at because Wes works for like Barstool or something, and so there was some like clip that was going around on social media of like them together playing like foosball or cornhole or something, and they're all talking about the show, and producers are asking them questions, and they're like, "Who do you think would get like a spinoff, get their own spinoff from like Summer House?" And they're all are Carl goes, definitely Emerald. And then they all like cackle about it. And I was like, that seems mean and
Mhm.
weird. Um, and then the way that this show was like edited last week, where they took Emerald out completely, and there was an after show for Summer House that completely got
Yeah, there wasn't one.
there was one for like 4 episodes and then it disappeared.
Right.
It went away. We don't know why, but also at the reunion, apparently Emerald was just like brought out for part of the reunion and not all of it, which is fine. I don't think that everybody needs to be there for the whole time. Like, good for
Mhm.
him, because he's probably like, great, I don't need to like sit up straight and I'm now going to go find somebody to fuck. But I think that there's something to do with Toegate. So I think that when that whole thing happened,
Uh-huh.
I think that we on camera and on audio know exactly what happened with Jesse,
Uh-huh.
but Bravo has put Jesse and Wes as the future of Summer House because
Mhm.
obviously Lindsay's probably not going to be on it. Carl is whatever. Kyle and Amanda are like, I think they might split up the show, but they're making Jesse and Wes the future. Like,
Mhm.
they're like treating them like Tom and Tom, you
Which I'm
know?
like, did we not learn our fucking lesson?
No, Bravo never learns. And like Bravo is obsessed. Like Andy's obsessed with straight men
Yeah.
on Bravo.
Which is so wild because in my mind, the future of Summer House is okay. So we know that like Lindsay's not going to be coming with her baby
Yeah.
for the summer. I think the future of Summer House is either, and we'll see how the new Vanderpump, whatever, like, or whatever the New York City one they're coming out with. Like
The
we'll see what the
babies.
new generation
Yeah.
thing is of just like rebranding that way. But I think you have a 2-week girls trip where it's Amanda, it's Paige, it's Sierra. Lindsay comes for 10 days. She could even bring the baby and have like the nanny. And then you have the boys come for the weekends or like pop in. And it's 2 weeks of filming, just like Ultimate Girls Trip, where it's like cameras are up and there's going to be drama. And then that's it. Like, and then you could do like a winter house, summer house, but with those girls. The future of Summer House is the girls.
Exactly. And I think that that's something, there's a disconnect because I think Andy always wants to, I think he feels like Housewives is all women. And even with Vanderpump Rules, it always was like, well, Stassi, Katie, and Kristen and Sheena were like the stars of that
Mhm.
show. But Andy insisted that like it was an ensemble cast and like the Jacks and the Toms were like so important, right, to the show.
Right.
And they're doing the same thing with Summer House. Now, granted, it was Kyle's show. It is
Mhm.
always been Kyle's idea. So I will give him that.
Yeah.
But the success of Summer House has happened because of the women that have joined the show,
The
and the
best
women have
moments
carried it.
of Summer House is the girl power. Are the
Exactly.
women rallying around each other and like forming this sisterhood in spite of the toxic men?
Exactly. And I think that is the reason why I feel like, so going back to Emerald, I think that we know exactly what happened in that room.
Mhm.
I 100% do not believe that it had anything to do with anybody's toes. I think that when Emerald the next day said, because Jesse doesn't talk about what happened in that room at all.
Right. Yeah.
Emerald then the next day at the pool says something like, yeah, I mean, Jesse got his toe sucked. And Jesse's like, ha, 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 ha. I think that at that point, like that was a power move on Emerald's part to be like, I know exactly what happened in that room. And I could probably put it out there what happened in that room. Because after that point is when Jesse suddenly starts being like, they start going from like orgy bees to like, oh, it's too much. Like Emerald has women in the
Yeah.
house all the time. It's
You're
so
right.
weird. It's so
Because
weird.
it was presented like, oh, like king, like, oh, like the
Yeah.
whatever. And then yeah, there was that flip. And like I always thought that was so funny. I understand in the house they've all reached a certain age or like doing
Yeah.
whatever. Actually, no, that's not true. They just can't pull like Emerald does. And
They
so
can't.
they aren't going to have that experience because they can't. But I just
Exactly.
thought it was so funny from the viewers to be so down on it because I'm like, number one, let's not forget how we met Amanda as a
Yeah.
booty call.
Yeah.
Number two, like that's what Summer House used to be, was the Big Brother style filming. I mean, you had fucking Danielle looking at the camera while she's doing her reverse cowgirl. Like
Yes.
this is like the origin story. So I never understood as viewers why we were so upset with like Emerald having consensual safe sex in the house.
Exactly. And the women that they're like, oh, these are like, we never see the women. Well, the women don't want to sign waivers. So he actually is protecting them by being like, you don't have to
Right.
sign a waiver. It's cool.
Yeah.
You don't like, you don't need to be on camera, whatever. I'm going to cover up the cameras. It's fine.
Right.
But like, so that whole situation happens. I think Emerald did a power move by being like, oh, it was a toe.
Mm-hmm.
And then it spins into this other thing because you cannot tell me for 37 minutes that that's what happened. And then after that point, they completely switch on him. They're like, oh, it's too much. Maybe take a break, da da da, all this stuff. I think Bravo's purposely not revealing to us what happened with Jesse and West, and they're letting this lie perpetuate, like continue on because, or Jesse and Emerald, because they don't.
What do you think it was like a true foursome, or do you think that he came in and like jerked off? Like, what do you think happened in that room?
I mean, I think that like either he got jerked off or he jerked off himself or he got a blowjob or something. Like I don't believe
he participated more than a toe.
His dick was out.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's actually, if I were him, and I know that he's trying to like, he was trying at that point to be like the squeaky clean boyfriend. It's weirder. The story that came out is creepier.
It's totally
I
creepier.
would so much rather be like, yeah, like I came in and I got horny and so I joined. Okay, cool. So then you were a participant. It is so much weirder to be like, I walked in and for 37 minutes I was breathing heavily and then finally they threw me a bone by sucking my big toe. Gross.
Yeah, because we have like the audio of him saying, okay, now I'm hard. And like, so I don't believe that that's what happened. And I think that because they want to continue to propel the show forward with Jesse and West, they're like slowly editing Emerald out because Emerald has the keys to the castle. Like Emerald knows exactly what happened and it's going to taint the whole Jesse thing. Like, you know, Emerald, if you're listening, he's not. I would love for you to just DM me and tell me really what happened. I'll maybe keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
She'll
I'll tell
text
everybody.
me about it, but no. But I think that one thing I want to say, I want to shout out Beyond the Blinds because they did a really good episode in one of their Bravo roundups where they talk about the people of color on Summer House and the archetypes and tropes that they've each been forced into playing.
Yes.
And I feel like with Emerald, part of the audience critique was like, we don't know anything about him and he's just fucking people. And it's like, well, he's showing himself and it's up to the editors of what they are going to, like, we never heard about the school he's opening up or like we never heard about any of the other stuff. Like that's what they're choosing to show us. It's the same as people. I think Gabby's hysterical, but I think that she has been, and they said the trope of the spiritual Negro, like she is the person that Lindsay goes to talk about her life and receive advice and feedback from Gabby. And that's not Gabby's fault that is what's portrayed.
Yeah,
like,
she's been portrayed as like sassy, wise Black woman.
Right. And I followed her for years, like before she was even on Summer House. Let me tell you, if you're not following her on social media, she is hysterical. She is delusional. She is all the things that you want from a Bravo star. When she got cast, I was like, oh, perfection. Yeah. But they're never showing that side of her.
They never are. And I do want to say that I, for many years, was saying that justice for Jules because those girls were so mean to her. But now Jules is a wellness grifter. So I take it back.
Okay. Well, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
You know?
She's like selling parasite cleanses. And I said,
remember the human Bowflex machine, Alex? That it was literally like if a fairy granted a Bowflex machine a wish and turned into a human for a summer. That was man.
We had made that theory on the pod that that there was a curse in the house.
Yes.
And they slowly become
furniture. And now it's happening again to Emerald. He's turning into a pumpkin. He's an Amazon box on the front step now.
I think the other thing you said about like him opening up a school, I think the other reason why Bravo iced him out, and this is just my conspiracy theory as a Muslim South Asian woman, is I think that they don't love the fact that the first thing he did with his brand new platform is raise money for a school in a Muslim country.
Well, the ads on your podcast certainly tell a different tale.
Hey, Spotify, knock it off. Yeah. I just, like people, and I think, again, whenever you bring a person of color on a TV show like this, the way that the audience reacts to them is also very telling. Like how people are talking about Imra online is gross. They're using a lot of like, they think he's gross. They think he's disgusting. And it's like, well, you again started watching this TV show because Kyle and Carl would bring random women all the time. So, and Famous, you guys did love watching Jordan. I mean, he was lying about these things, but Emerald is doing the things that Jordan used to lie about. So
He's actually walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Jordan.
Oh
I
my
miss
God,
Jordan.
I
Bring him
forgot
back.
about Jordan. I think I have Men in Black myself.
Well, that's a great thing also about Summer House is like for some of the years when I think about the extras, I'm like, I don't remember who they are until you run into a Workus twin in Paris.
That is wild to me.
Twice.
Were they together? It was just one, a solo Dorcas.
No, of course. They're always together.
Of course.
And there's so much intense energy. It's terrifying. Ooh. Terrifying women. Terrifying women. I don't want to say that I understand why Carl was a little bit weirded out by them, but I get it. Because I don't want to give Carl any credit. Any other thoughts about Summer House?
No, I can't believe the season is already coming to a close. I felt like this was a good season. It was. I don't know what's next for it, but I enjoyed myself thoroughly. I felt like we had a good mix of humor and drama. Again, when juxtaposed with The Valley, there's way less like existential dread, I feel, vicariously through these characters.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Memorial Day is 2 weeks away. Somebody's going to need to go back to that house.
That's what I wanted to ask. Do you think that they pushed? Because historically, like, they kind of wrap up the season July, early August. Like, they've gone later and later with filming since it began. Because it used to be like the 4th of July party was almost like the grand finale of the summer.
It was a 4th of July and then Kyle's birthday, which is at the end of the summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Or at the end of July. Yeah.
End of July. Right. So, but now I was like, what producer was brilliant enough to be like, let's push it back 6 weeks? Because I have a feeling we're going to need eyes on Lindsay on this anniversary day.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart idea. I also think that the reason why it's getting pushed is because when they film the reunion also, because I think it has to do with like the show has to air partially, then the reunion needs to film, and then we need a little bit of time between reunion and them going back to the house. So I feel like because of that, that's probably going to change. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're going to be back in the house after Memorial Day, but I think that they're going to be back in the house at least by July. Maybe July 4th will be the kickoff weekend, but who's going to be there? We don't know. And I don't know if Paige even needs the show anymore. She is making so much money on her podcast and book tour and now her live shows. Like, I don't want to give Hannah any credit, but the Gigglers are doing it.
Yeah. I think that's the magic of, we don't need to give Hannah credit, but we can give friendship credit. I think that's the magic of true friendship is like you are your funniest, best self when you're with your best friend. And I think their podcast is proof of that.
And your podcast is proof of that.
Thank you. Thank you. And you and your brother are proof of that too.
It's
of
true.
That dynamic. So
yeah, you're right.
In conclusion, no credit for Hannah, but we are funny.
In conclusion, it does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty.
Somewhere Lindsay Hubbard's like, freedom, freedom.
I love them so much. I forgot totally when we saw the preview for next week that we're going to get cameras back up about Paige breaking up with Craig. I was like, oh!
Another jump scare. Honestly, that's where it lost me a little bit. In the middle there when it was like whenever Craig pops up, because that just to me, I mean, we could have a whole other hour talking about the intricacies of the way that breakup was received, but I shan't. This just in, woman who stops talking about topic that infuriates her feels a lot less mad.
Science shows that if you avoid talking about toxic men, you are just a little bit happier.
Fuck you, Craig.
Guys, please go listen to I Am the Cute One if you're not already. I don't know what you're doing, and follow Chelsea everywhere. What movies do you guys have coming up?
Well, June is Chalchella.
It sure is.
It's my birthday month, so we're definitely going to have a disaster film in there, perhaps an M. Night Shyamalan classic. I'm really pushing for The Happening. And, of course, my favorite film, perhaps of all time, Predestination, the Ethan Hawke thriller time travel movie.
I can't wait. Have you guys covered The Village yet?
We have not, no. So that might be in the lineup too. But is that face saying you want to come back for The
I
Village?
would love to talk about The Village.
Okay, we'll have you on
It's
for The
one of
Village.
my favorite movies.
Me and Donnie both love The Village. That's why we haven't covered it. It's because usually our dynamic is one person loves it, one person hates it.
Okay,
I was
then we
blown away
can't.
by that twist.
No. Then we can't, because I feel like the entire episode would just be like us gushing. I feel like you also need a hater on that.
But who knows? It could be a case study of 3 traditionally negative Nancys. Like, we would find a way.
3
Donnie
haters
and I
come together.
We do that all the time, though, where Donnie and I are like raising our voices, and then one of us is like, "Wait, I think we're agreeing. I think we're just like talking angrily at each other, saying the same thing."
This is just how we function at this point. Yeah, I know, I get it. Well, yeah, I mean, let me know. I'm available. I'm not going anywhere for a while.
Marvelous.
So yeah, guys, go follow everything Chelsea does, and I would love for you to release an end of the season chart. Your scientific.
Okay. I know. People have been asking for the charts. It's just people, I think that science is so important these days that I don't want to get it wrong, but I think I can handle an end of the year chart. I just couldn't. I had to stop I'm so sorry. Don't want to take credit where my scientists had to stop in the laboratory during Summer House, specifically week to week, because the comment section just made me want to light myself on fire. When people were like, how dare you? Now, why is Lindsay that high? Why is this person that? I'm like, I'm spelling dick out of like a blue swirly line that I did with my finger on an Instagram story. It's not that serious.
People are crazy.
Crazy.
I know. I feel like you should do one for the Valley, but it's just like Jesse's underwear.
The trajectory of Jesse's pantaloons and the feelings that I